Good morning, the COT data video for the week beginning the 28th of October. We've got to remember that the clocks go back in the UK and I think in Europe as well. So if you're watching this in the States, there's going to be an hour difference, okay? And I think you guys in America, you change your clocks a little bit later. So that's obviously of note. We've got lots of geopolitics going on in the world and we've got the elections as well. So we should really see a flight to safety because of so much uncertainty. So we should, in speech marks, see risk assets fall. And they did yesterday. We tumbled quite hard and we managed to recover a little bit on risk appetite. But there's so much uncertainty, there should be a flight to US yields and the dollar, I think, in my opinion. So this is of note that we saw an uptick on the dollar and we're back above positive 911. That's weird. Right, okay. And EuroFX got dumped. Minus 28,000 would come from 100,000 plus to minus 28. So big dump on the euro. Let's have a look at the yen. Hopefully this helps. Yen ticked down. Yen's moving with the euro. If you saw last week's video, I said this might happen, that they're going to run in parallel. So it means that EJ will be a bit tricky. Euro off, Aussie on. Aussie is up slightly, so that would be an AJ long and Aussie yen long because we've had the crossover. But if we're going to be risk off, which is probably likely, that might not be the greatest idea. However, we have seen the yen not really correlate to risk on or risk off flows. It's just doing its own thing. So it might be okay to take an Aussie yen long potentially, and we've got to be wary about the yen because we've got the BOJ and we've got elections tomorrow in Japan. So hopefully you were aware of that, and you checked Discord and you saw in the yen channel that there were these elections. So it could possibly go really well for you, or it could be quite bad depending on like your positioning and where your stop loss is and where your take profit is. So if you've got a yen cross yen trade, okay, it's hard to say which way it's going to go. We don't know until the elections. So that's tomorrow. So it's quite big. So there's lots of things going on in the world, okay? So with that, we should have an AJ long, but we'll have to wait and see, okay? We'll take Aussie off, pound on. We've got the budget coming up in the UK, and I think it's going to be pretty bad for UK, but we'll have to wait and see. That's coming down, and we're making like a series of lower highs and higher lows. So we're basically consolidating, possibly for a squeeze. So you can see how we're making like a triangle. We may have a breakdown of that triangle, and we could plop below, we could dump. Hopefully that makes sense. See that triangle here? So we could be breaking this for a sell-off. So we have to wait and see. Pound off, CAD on. CAD has been really heavy, and it's still quite heavy. Minus 140,000. It's quite negative, isn't it? From 65,000. So we had loads of success this week with this new theory, and one of the trades was the Australian dollar CAD, and that went really well. And you could see the deviation between the two. See Aussie up, CAD down. So you're looking to buy Aussie, you're looking to sell CAD, and then that's one of the reasons how you can use the spreadsheet. And we had the signal to buy according to the bubbles, so that was a good trade. So you see how if we take that off, you can just see we've seen that sort of deviation between the Aussie and the CAD. Okay, so we'll put the dollar back on because it's obviously very useful, and then we'll take CAD off as well, and then we can put on gold, and gold's going to be mega strong, and yeah, it's just mega strong, isn't it? So 296,000. So they're bullish. The banks are long, and don't forget that China and India and other countries are buying gold as well. So there's obviously a demand for that, and so it's pushing gold higher. Of course, the herd are very short, and them being so short helps push price higher as well. In fact, it's just if you're interested, that the Howard have sold gold when we were at 1990, and we're at 2,600 now. So they're at $700 in drawdown, or they at least they started to short $700 ago, but they wouldn't be able to survive that kind of drawdown. So, but that's where they started to sell. Okay, and they've held short since. That's important, right? So it's bullish on the sentiment and it's bullish on the COT. So be careful if you're looking for sells, because you'd be quite counter trend, right? Gold off, and then New Zealand dollar sideways, just being a bit naughty and just a bit tricky, and the New Zealand dollar is a current setup for Monday. So do check Discord, because we've got a Kiwi trade that's going to be triggered Monday. But we have to remember that the New Zealand dollar is quite sensitive to risk on, risk off flows, in so much that if we go risk on, like the indices are going to pump, the New Zealand dollar can do okay. All right. So we have to remember that sort of component to the trade. And we had 5 out of 5 signals last week using this new theory, and they all profited. So if you're interested in this theory, check the Telegram, because there's lots of documentation in there. There's a video and a doc. So read that, and then you come to me if you've got any questions. But we had a 100% hit rate using this max bubble liquidation theory. Okay, and so Monday it's I'm not gonna. You have to check your Discord. If I tell you what the setup's going to be, what's the point of subscribing? You need to subscribe to see the signal. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes, and it's going to be sensitive to risk on or risk off, and we don't really know how it's going to go. A good tip, if you're not sure about how we're going to open, whether or not the index is going to dump or they're going to pump, it's just to check Bitcoin, because that runs over the weekend. So you can check Bitcoin. If we're really dumping really hard, it's likely going to set up for an ugly open on Monday, Sunday night. Okay, so so far so good with the new theory. It's actually quite extraordinary. The fact that the answer was there all along, but it was just the timing. That the herd's timing was absolutely awful, and so we exploit their timing, right? Not their positions, but their timing. Okay, so that's the New Zealand dollar. And the poor retail guys get absolutely squished, and we found out what happens and why, and what happens the following day as well. It's really, really cool. Swiss franc, and that's it. So I'm going to wrap up the video now. We're just sideways on Swiss franc. We could potentially break that low. Looks like we might do it. And so I'm going to wrap up now. Remember that the clocks go back. Remember, we've got the UK, the Japanese elections, UK budget, crazy geopolitics in the Middle East, and we've got the election. So if you're going to be trading this week, just use smaller sizes than normal, and I think you should be okay. If you want to join us, we've got a 14-day free trial. It's rolling, it's ongoing. You just let me know if you want to join, and all I need is your Gmail address, and that's it. So I wish you a good day, and I'll speak to you guys soon.